Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to November 21st, 1986. We've got 5 movies to take a look at today. A couple of classic movies, well technically one newer release and one Disney classic that has been filled with a lot of controversy in later years, but we'll get to those as we go along here. But let's start off with the newer release that became a classic in its own right, and that is the first animated feature produced by Steven Spielberg and directed by Don Bluth. That is, of course, An American Tail.
This holiday season, Universal Pictures brings you a very special motion picture experience. The first animated feature film presented by Steven Spielberg. An American Tail. The story of one family's journey to America and Fievel, their son, who got lost along the way. Fievel! Fievel! An American Tail, a Don Bluth film, coming this Thanksgiving.
Papa! Yes, go into this movie expecting a good, fun, happy time, and prepare to be emotionally scarred if you're a kid when you saw this movie. Because yeah, that trailer, of course, does not show you all the stuff that will mess you up as a kid. But then as an adult, you'll realize that maybe that's why Don Bluth was kicking Disney's ass for most of the 1980s. I mean, yeah, this was that time when, this was when Don Bluth took his animation studio out on his own and put out these classic movies that were much better than what Disney was cooking up at the time. I mean, this is his first film after The Secret of Nim. And, team up with Steven Spielberg and all that. And this movie made a lot of history in a number of different ways, which we're going to get to here in just a moment here. But running down the story here, you have Fievel Moskovitz and his family as they immigrate from Russia to the United States for freedom because they believe that there are no cats in America. However, during a storm, Fievel gets lost and must find a way to reunite with them, and eventually finds out that, yeah, there's pretty much cats in America. And yeah, as I said before, this was a big, big deal because Disney had a big success earlier in the year with another mouse animated feature in The Great Mouse Detective. However, An American Tail made more than $20 million more than The Great Mouse Detective did. And basically, Disney had to wake up and realize that Don Bluth was the biggest competition they had at the time. And, considering that the movie they put out the summer before in '85 was The Black Cauldron, the one that got knocked over by the Care Bears movie, they had to realize that, okay, we need to change our ways here quickly or else we're going to get lost in the shuffle here. And this was one of the first real big animation, changes in animation overall because of the success of this. And then you followed up with Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2 years later and The Land Before Time. This was when animation was starting to begin its eventual second renaissance. And especially with Disney coming on with their second renaissance in the late 80s. I mean, this is a movie that was much bigger of a deal than people were expected to be. It was also it laid the groundwork for most big animated movies from the major studios. I mean, you not only had the great animation, the great storytelling, but you also had the music. The music in here played a very big deal here, specifically a song that we're going to get to in a little bit here. But, many people love this movie for nostalgic sakes, and I'll be honest, I like this movie enough, but I don't think it's the best one that Spielberg has produced. I mean, The Land Before Time, I think, is the far superior movie that Don Bluth made. But that's not saying that this movie is bad by any means necessary. This is still a really good movie. You really do like all the characters here. You root for Fievel to go on this journey, and you see all the dark and depressing stuff he's got to go through this entire movie. Like, you see it, and that's the great thing about Don Bluth. You can always show the most dark and depressing imagery according to him, but because the main characters are so determined to meet their goals, you root for them to finally get to that moment, and once that finally happens, it's like all is right with the world. You survived something traumatizing. I mean, a lot of movies in the 80s did that, not just Don Bluth movies, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You get to the big moment where, you have to face Judge Doom and all of his big twist of being a toon, and it's just like, you get to that moment, yeah, you got the scary part, and you're rewarded by seeing all your favorite cartoon characters coming out at the end to celebrate. I mean, I mean, but in this movie, the second Fievel finally reconnects with his family in this movie, you just realize, like, this kid has been through so much and has been lied to throughout the movie. He's just got to this point where he's at his breaking point. But then when he finally gets to that goal he's trying to get to, it is just the greatest feeling in the world. Like, everything that just happened before makes it worth it because you finally reach the ending point where you're supposed to get to here. The animation overall is great. They do a great job blending rotoscoped animation with Bluth's animation style, and it works really well. You got the great music by James Horner. I mean, this is some of his best music overall in a year where he's had some really great musical scores. I mean, this is the same year he did Aliens. I mean, this guy has a great range of music, and I always consider him up there with some of the great composers out there. I mean, he doesn't get as much attention like John Williams does or Hans Zimmer, but he's definitely in that same echelon of people like him and Alan Silvestri and David Newman. And of course, you got the song "Somewhere Out There," the great song by James Ingram and Linda Ronstadt. And like I said, this is kind of the groundbreaker for animated films in general, to the point where Disney would eventually do this with every single movie going forward, where they would have a pop song that becomes the chart-topping hit, especially in the early part of their Disney Renaissance. I mean, the song overall is great. It perfectly fits the tone of what the movie is, delivers on everything you want for in a movie song. This is Don Bluth at his best. You know, this is him delivering on what he does best back then. You know, it's a fun animated movie, an American Tale. It's got great animation, great characters, not afraid to go for much darker tones. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's a solid animated film, but like I said, of the 80s Don Bluth films, I would probably say I like this less than something like All Dogs Go to Heaven or Secret of NIMH or Land Before Time. I mean, Secret of NIMH I still think is the best of the bunch, and, you know, I have a soft spot for All Dogs Go to Heaven, but I have no flaws with this film whatsoever to say that it's a terrible movie. I just like this one slightly less than the other films I talked about. I mean, this one is definitely good, but if I had to choose between the four that came out in the 80s, this would probably be the weakest one, but not to say that the film is bad by any means necessary. Not at all. It's still a fun film. I really enjoy the hell out of it, An American Tale. So yeah, Universal put this out, and Disney said, oh yeah, well, guess what? We're going to release one of our classic Disney movies. I know we're going to put one out later on at Christmas with Lady and the Tramp, but you know what we need to do? We're going to take a classic from our vaults, and we're going to put it out there, and we're going to take some of your money away. So here's that film.
Walt Disney's classic Song of the South is back. It's the truth. It's actual. Everything's satisfaction. Walt Disney's Song of the South. My, oh my, what a wonderful movie.
Yes, come see it now, because you are never going to see this movie on the big screen ever again. In fact, you will be very lucky if you can find this movie on home video or even out there on DVD, and we're certainly not going to put it on Disney Plus. No. We're going to pretend this movie never existed. Yeah, this was literally the last time you could see this movie anywhere because, of course, with the stuff inside of it here, the only way you can find this movie, honestly, is if you find an international video release of this, or if you go to Comic-Cons or conventions and find, like, bootleg Blu-rays or DVDs of it. Because I know I found one, and that's the only way I've been able to see this movie, honestly, is because of that. It's a good version of it, but watching the movie overall, I could see where people are coming from with it, but to say that it's a movie that shouldn't be seen, I'm not going to go ahead and say that just yet. But I'll talk about it when I get done with this. I'll talk about it a little bit here. But this film takes place in the U.S. state of Georgia during the Reconstruction era, a period of American history after the end of the Civil War and the abolishment of slavery. The story follows a 7-year-old boy named Johnny, played by Bobby Driscoll, who would later go on to play Peter Pan, who is visiting his grandmother, Lucille Watson's plantation, for an extended stay. Johnny befriends Uncle Remus, played by James Baskett, an elderly worker of the plantation, and takes joy in hearing the tales about the adventures of Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. Johnny learns from the stories how to cope with the challenges he's experiencing while living on the plantation. And of course, this was the inspiration for Splash Mountain at the Disney parks. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I can see why this would be really tough to sell on Disney Plus in general, but at the same time, it's kind of like with the Warner Brothers animated shorts. I mean, you always remember if you had the Looney Tunes DVDs from back in the day, it would always start off with that disclaimer that says about, we know that this is stuff that's going to be very offensive to a lot of people, but if we're saying that, we can't really take it away, because by basically taking it away, we're just making it that like that, we're pretending that it didn't even exist, which, knowing how the political world is now, they'd be more than happy to do that. But yeah, I get why people don't want to release this. I get why Disney Plus wouldn't want to put this on Disney Plus, but I do feel like it should be seen out there, because it's fun for what it is. I mean, it's not a completely over the top racist bad movie overall. I mean, it has stuff that is very much, would be very, very iffy in today's world. But I think if you put a disclaimer like what Warner Brothers did on like the Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry DVDs, I think you really wouldn't have a problem with it per se. I think it should be something that should be seen. I mean, it's not one of the classic Disney movies by any means necessary, but like I said before, pretending like this movie doesn't exist is basically saying that the ideas of racism and how African Americans were treated back then never happened. I mean, it'd be something like, you'd be basically erasing history at this point, and why would you even want to do that? I mean, like, again, we live in a time when our politicians are going to do that no matter what now, because they have the freedom to do that, because of who runs the country now. But at the same time, though, it's just kind of like, it's really weird. Like, I get the argument for people that don't want to see it out there in more recent formats, but I still think there should be some way in some format to watch it, because it's not that bad of a movie. And I think it works mostly because you do like these characters a lot. You do get attached to the characters overall. The animation and live-action hybrid elements are really good here, too. I think this was actually one of Disney's first ones to actually do that. I think it was like the second or third one, honestly, because we had Saludos Amigos and Three Caballeros to test the idea of live-action animation in a feature film. I mean, I don't know. It's a very tough call to call on this one. I didn't mind the movie that much. I watched it as a kid. I thought it was alright. I mean, I watched it again when I found the DVD for it. I thought it was alright. I mean, it's not a great movie. It's not one of Disney's classics, but it's definitely one that I really do feel like should be seen to the general public out there. People should actually have a chance to see it and judge it for itself. But no going into it that, you might not like it, but pretending that this doesn't exist basically would mean that we're pretending that the elements of what they're talking about here never existed in American history. And I think that's something that should be, I really think that should be something that should be out there for people to see. But I don't know, that's just my personal take on it. I know I'm going to get some ridicule for that, but hey, I've been more than willing to get that ridicule for stuff I've said and done over the last couple of years, so take that for what you will. So that's Song of the South. So let's go ahead and get to the stuff for the adults out there who don't have the kids and don't want to go to an American Tale or Song of the South, because you know what really these people want to go see? A new Chuck Norris movie.
Chuck Norris and Lou Gossett, two friends who live for adventure. Their mission won't be easy.
We need a new plan.
It might even be dangerous.
But it could be worth a lot of money.
They'll face any risk for the adventure of a lifetime.
Better be some gold up here. Get your butt. I'm coming.
Chuck Norris and Lou Gossett, Firewalker.
Firewalker starts Friday at a theater near you.
But not just any Chuck Norris movie, a Chuck Norris movie featuring an Academy Award winner in Louis Gossett Jr. in one of his many, many, many what the hell were you thinking decisions after winning the Oscar for An Officer and a Gentleman. Yeah, this is definitely not one of their better movies. Obviously, this is a canon movie, and you had Chuck Norris and Louis Gossett Jr. as Down on Their Luck treasure hunters teaming up with Patricia Goodwin, played by Melanie Anderson, a psychic with a map to lead to a legendary Aztec treasure guarded by the sinister Firewalker. Their journey takes them through a perilous trek through Central America. So you got a movie that's trying to be like a mix between Romancing the Stone and Indiana Jones, and I mean, I don't want to say it's a bad movie, but it's a movie that is definitely the definition of a canon film. It's cheesy, it's corny, it's over the top, and even for Chuck Norris, this is really going way too far and over the edge with it. Hell, they even got Sala from Indiana Jones to be in this. John Rhys Davies is one of the stars of this movie, too. I mean, they were trying so hard to create an Indiana Jones type of hit, and it just backfired big time with this film. I mean, at times, the corniness can be fun, but other than that, though, this is not one of their better movies overall. I mean, canon films can be silly fun, and I think they were just pushing their luck with this one here. Not a great movie by any means necessary, but yeah, it's definitely not one of the ones I would recommend either, so take that for what you will. So let's go ahead and move on to a movie that is silly and over the top for good reasons. Charlie Sheen starring in The Wraith.
Friday, November 21st in the theater near you.
Now, this is the movie that Firewalker should have been. I mean, this is a movie that knows it's stupid, knows it's ridiculous, but is having the time of its life and just going for it all the way. You have Nick Cassavetes as Packard Walsh and his motorized gang controlling and terrorizing an Arizona desert town when they're forcing drivers to drag race so they can win their vehicles. After Walsh stabs the decent teenager Jamie Hankins to death for being intimate with a girl whom Walsh wants for himself, the mysterious Jake Kesey arrives, an extreme cool motored biker with an invincible car played by Charlie Sheen. Jake befriends Jamie's girlfriend Carrie Johnson, played by Sherilyn Fenn, and then takes Jamie's sweet brother Billy under his wing and manages what Sheriff Loomis, played by Randy Quaid, cannot, the methodical and otherworldly elimination of Packard's criminal gang. So you basically have a movie where you've got Charlie Sheen, Charlie from Two and a Half Men, fighting off, is working with Nick Cassavetes, and also having Audrey from Twin Peaks going up against the bad guy in this, played by Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Vacation. What more can you ask for that? I mean, this is a movie that is so corny and so over-the-top ridiculous, but this is a film that clearly knows what the hell it's trying to do, and it works on every single level. This movie is silly, this movie is ridiculous, this is over-the-top insanity, and I loved every single moment of it. This is a movie that was recommended by Spill.com's co-host 3000 when he did a video review of it, and yeah, if you've never seen Spill.com, look up those reviews, especially look up the co-host 3000 reviews, because, I mean, the guy who plays him picks these movies that are so ridiculously stupid and over the top, but they're fun films if you have the right mindset. And this is definitely a movie where, you need to go into it with the right mindset. I mean, this is a movie that's so silly, so over the top, but so fun. I mean, this is the movie, like I said, that Firewalker wanted to be, but this one does it so well. Over the top fun, The Wraith, can't recommend this puppy enough. So, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Defense of the Realm.
Yes. I intend to pursue the story.
Jesus Christ!
I know what happened.
Yes, one of the David Putnam productions that he did before he eventually took over Columbia Pictures, and we all know how that turned out, but if you don't know, link in the corner. I have a great video about it, but I wouldn't say great video, but you get some details about what actually happened. But this is a film that takes its title from the Defense of the Realm Act in 1914, passed in the United Kingdom at the start of the First World War, which gave the government wide-ranging powers during the war. And you see, you got a cast that includes Gabriel Byrne, Robbie Coltrane, Greta Scacchi, Denholm Elliott, more Indiana Jones alumni in these movies. I've never seen this movie, so I can't really tell you if it's any good or not, but Roger Deakins does the cinematography for it, so want to see one of his early cinematic works? There you go. So, I really got nothing else for you. I don't know much about this movie, except the fact that it's a David Putnam production, and it features a cast that includes Byrne and Scacchi and Elliott and Robbie Coltrane, and also cinematography by Roger Deakins. Yeah, that's all I got for you in this one here, so quick thoughts on Defense of the Realm. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movie's Flashback. Next time, we'll flash back to November 14th, 1986 with 4 more films, including Streets of Gold, Gene Hackman starring in Hoosiers, we have Willy Nilly, and Every Time We Say Goodbye, I Die a Little. The movie's literally called Every Time We Say Goodbye, so might as well sing the song there. We'll take a look at those 4 films coming up next week on the show. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and check out the previous episodes we did. So, with that said, I will see you guys next time, and until then, thanks for watching. Take care.